Hi, guys, and welcome back to a new episode of Unlocking Our Code podcast. This is Lou, and I'm here with Devi.
Hello.
Hi. And today we are going to be having a fun discussion. And we have a surprise guest, I guess. We can call him a guest.
Yes.
Even though he's here with us all the time. We have Greg. He's our producer, and he's going to be joining us for this episode, which we really think it's a fun one. And we're going to be discussing relationships. I mean, we're still in February, still the month of love. It's still the month of practically relationships, right?
Yeah.
And we want to talk about how could we say it, like the toxic relationships or those relationships that we keep getting into, and those patterns that are just, they don't turn out to be what we expect them to be, but then we keep falling into them. And so anyways, we wanted to get his perspective, and then we just wanted to discuss and just have all these questions and see what pops up, what comes out from all of it,
Yeah. So welcome, Greg. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, ladies, for letting me turn on my microphone. I'm pretty excited, actually.
Yeah, I know, right?
We're excited to chat with you about this. I think it's a cool topic. I think it's definitely one that will bring awareness to a lot of the stuff that we kind of, not only we go through, right? Or we see our loved ones go through. And in general, I think it's good to discuss toxicity and all these cycles that we get caught on, or sometimes just questions that we have like lingering in our mind too.
Yeah.
It's good to just bring them up. And
that's what we want to do. I feel like let's ask all these questions and then try to break them down to what could be the root cause of these reasons. And hopefully, our listeners can it can be cause awareness. You can catch yourself and be like, wait, I am doing that, or maybe this is why. And so that's what we're hoping for, right?
Yeah, and the good thing is there's going to be 3 different perspectives, especially one from a male. It's funny because we're all different in our ways, but it's always the same results. We always see something in social media or whatever it may be, a pattern, a trait. But at the end of the day, when it comes to relationship stuff, if you're complaining, everyone's basically complaining about the same exact things. So maybe there's a pattern that needs to be broken that we need to figure out. I mean, I know it's not our job to figure it out, but maybe somebody will get a perspective out of it, or something, like something will spark.
Yeah.
A light bulb will turn on or something like that.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's true. I feel like exactly what you just said right now. We can't fix everybody's problems. We can't even fix our own partner's problems. We can only fix ourselves, right?
Right.
So, I think that's kind of what we're going to try. Maybe we can try and always take it back to ourselves.
Right.
Or the person that's having the problem, and then see where we can go from there.
Between us 3, there's enough collective experience where we're going to get different experiences.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like we're each having our own experience, right? Differently. So even if we want to share some of this stuff, I know I'm myself dealing with some relationship growth and involvement. And I always get excited around this time for me because we're just always experiencing stuff and growing and learning from what we experience. We no longer fight each other for it. It's more we're going through an evolvement, right?
Yep.
So we each are experiencing something. I feel like we could all learn from each other, for sure.
Absolutely.
And it's and see, for you, your marriage, right? It's even hearing you say things like, I'm going through something in my relationship or in my marriage. It for someone who's outside of your circle would be like, what? What are you going through? What's going on? Is there infidelity? What's going on? Are you guys fighting? Are you guys going to get divorced? But that's where everybody's mindset goes to.
Yeah.
What is it? But no, as a couple, and whether you're married or not, it doesn't matter. We go through stuff, and it's what you mentioned. It's not like the let's fight each other. It's damn, now we're fighting this together.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what brings growth, right? That we're able to see that it's not us against each other. I feel like when we are not conscious, we go to those places where it's me against you, and just a never-ending battle of power, right? But when we are able to see it from a higher perspective, it's okay, well, we are going through something. We feel it, we see it, we sense it. Now, let's put our part into this. Let's allow ourselves to grow from the experience, talk about it, and then just go from there, right? It no longer has to be a fight. It no longer has to be a battle for power either. It's just simply a chapter where it's time to evolve. Yeah. And I think that all couples go through that. Absolutely. At one point or another. I know I get asked to evolve a couple of times out of the year within my relationship. And now I've seen the pattern. That is, before I used to think, oh my God, like something bad's happening, blah, 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 blah. And no, it was just an opportunity to see certain patterns that I was in or that my partner was in, and that it was a time for evolvement to just learn and grow from there, right? But so that's why I feel like relationships is something that always brings a lot of good awareness to everybody. You know, everyone is in some type of relationship, whether it's love-wise, family, co-workers, everybody's in some type of relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And the good thing that you, I mean, it sounds like you and your husband communicate. Yeah. That's key, because there's a lot of, like, if there was no communication, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going based off my past. I think I could have, what's the word I'm looking for? I could have salvaged a lot of relationships I was in just based on communication, you know, fighting over little minute things. If we would have just sat down and communicated, talked to each other, expressed each other's feelings, I probably wouldn't, you know, it would have been a lot different. Mm-hmm. So, but everybody, you know, they get hot-headed, they don't want to talk and whatever it is. And the communication's not there, so they just want to go to separate corners, pero enojados. Yeah. They get mad. Yeah. That's not good. So that's good that you guys take the time, and you say you evolve every year. Communication, I got to think, is a big, big thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I mean, but that's huge. I feel like when you can see past your pride, past your ego getting hurt, past the pride getting damaged, then you can jump into that communication part, right? Because that's the constant battle, I think. Like for me and definitely like my marriage, I think that is, if you know, I'm so thankful that there's no our issues have always been that, like, we're so similar, and we're both Pisces. Mm-hmm. Pa' la frega.
Mm-hmm. You know? So you guys are mirrors, 100%.
We're mirrors, 100% of each other, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and so I feel like we're extremely emotional creatures, although I show it a lot more than he does. But when it comes to pride, oh man, it's hard. And still this day, my pride and my ego still want to take over, and and then they put themselves first, but who ends up getting damaged is me, right? Yeah. It's all because I want to be the one that wins, or he wants to be the one that wins. Not even winning, it's just being right. Yeah. Like, whatever quote unquote right means, which is so ridiculous. Yeah. But I mean, we've gotten so much better. Like you said, we've learned to grow, but that's one of the biggest things. And I think when you start to mature and you start to realize that we can easily walk away from each other easily. Yeah. Right? Just like everybody does right now. A lot of people are just walking out of their relationships, walking away, because it's easier than to put your ego down. It's easier than to put your pride aside. Mm-hmm. And it's easier than being vulnerable, because who the hell wants to be vulnerable and show emotions and say, you know what's happening right now is really hurting my feelings, or whatever the case might be. Or no, we want to be right. It's just what I say. It's always your fault. It's always their fault. It's never me, you know? So yeah, I think a lot of us could have salvaged relationships. Not that I wanted to salvage any of them, but you know, I think a lot of them could have been better if we had that, if we didn't allow those things to get in the way. But I think like one of the biggest things that we talked about it in one of our episodes was the toxic relationships, right? I think we mentioned like the being a toxica or toxico was like the in thing. Mm-hmm. How it's like you even see stickers of it, and you know, people want to like
their cars.
You know how it's a thing to be that. Yeah. And Greg had mentioned something earlier regarding women, and kind of we saw the pattern, Greg. But I don't know if you kind of want to mention how like it went from you realizing what you thought at the time you needed to do in order to get what you wanted. You know?
Right. So my thing is I use the word gallivanting. In my years of gallivanting, I noticed that I was always trying to do the right thing, and it wouldn't work for me. It wouldn't work. It was always like the women that I would try to do the right thing for, it wasn't registering for them. So it's like, why am I doing all this if it's not working? So I'm gonna do the opposite. I'm just gonna be that guy. I'm gonna be the toxico or whatever it is. Not the toxico necessarily, but it was just bad, like the guy that you don't want to be with. You
were the asshole.
I was the asshole. That's the best way to put it. Not the asshole, the douchebag, the full of himself, the mujeriego, whatever you want to call it. And I noticed that I was getting a lot more better results per se being that guy. And it sucks because you're thinking, oh, okay, now I'm getting more attention being this guy, but it's like, you can't be this guy forever. Like, it's not cool. I'm in my 40s now. I don't want to be that guy. Like, there's no way. I don't even look like I should be that guy, I mean, I question myself. I don't want to be out there in the bars at 40, 42 years old. I don't look like I'm 42. But anyways, the point is like, it sucks that in a society, that's the attention and I see it all the time with a lot of friends that I have as well, is that they're very, and I'm talking about female friends, they're very, very smart, successful, goal-oriented women, but yet they're going with the idiot. You know what I mean? They're going with the moron, the guy that brings literally nothing to the table, and they have their undivided attention. And then there's these other guys that are great, and they have to put in more work. And it's like, so what do we do here? Where's the balance?
Ooh, I for sure, what I see right away is like when you say that a woman, and not just women, right? Men too, but for example, a woman being stuck in that pattern, right? She is extremely successful, got it going for herself, right? But like you said, stuck in a pattern with certain type of men, right? One of the things that happens there is that you have focused on the external too much. Your quote unquote success. But your mindset, your growth, your spiritual growth is way behind. You're too focused on growing a certain part of an area, like having money or success or the career, which is important, of course. I'm not saying that it's not. But the most crucial part, which is your mindset, your spiritual growth, your healing, all of that, it's way, it's way back there. It hasn't even caught up to where you are successfully, right? So it's like you're putting too much attention to the external. That's how I view it. If I meet someone like that, I'm like, they're focused on the external. They're not focusing on themselves. And because they're not focusing on themselves, they're attracting the equal mirror to the success or to the, right? What would a woman that's successful and or a man that's successful and is focused day and night on a career, on money, on goals, all that, but no spiritual growth, no mindset growth, none of that is happening? Well, the universe is not measuring your growth successfully money-wise. The universe is measuring your frequency, your mindset, your spiritual growth. And that's where you'll be a match to the relationship. So it's like, that's what I see. That's just that there's just needs to be more focused inward. So that woman or that man can manifest a higher vibrational relationship. Otherwise, you're just manifesting where you're at. That's really what's happening. Your money and your success is not going to manifest your soulmate. Your heart will. Your growth, your how you're doing internally will. So I think that's where a lot of the confusion also like happens,
Yep, I see that. I can definitely see that also. Like if for our listeners, if they heard our last episode about self-love, I think that, that has a lot to do with what Devi's talking about, the spiritual growth, the mindset growth, the personal healing part. If none of that is being taken care of, you're settling for whatever crumbs that they throw at you, basically. That's what it is, because there's so much stuff that they haven't even unraveled within themselves. And that can be the female, this can be the male, it doesn't even matter. It's just the person that keeps settling for these relationships that bring no what is it like they can help you they can help you feel better external wise, like, you know what I mean? But when it comes to internal, when it comes to emotional intimacy, when it comes to mindset growth, when it comes to growing together as a person, someone that's healed, you're not gonna connect with anyone like that, because that's not where you're at.
Right.
So all of these women that you've said you've dealt with, like you said, like, yeah, I had to play the asshole role to get the attention of all these females, and then I got a whole bunch of them, but then they're like not even healthy females.
No.
You know, they're like, and when I mean healthy, I mean like emotionally healthy females, right? So then they come, and so who are you attracting? You're attracting a whole bunch of like toxic ass people, right? Because this is what they're after. They're after these people that are not gonna connect with them emotionally. They're just giving them that external validation. So that's the cycle that keeps repeating itself, you know? And that's sad because it's everywhere right now.
I mean, I think we've all been in it at one point or another, right? We've all been in those type of relationships where there is nothing there for us. However, somehow we want to stay there. And I remember when I was in relationships like that, it's because I was not working at all on myself. There was no awareness. There was no time for me to go within. That wasn't even in my agenda at all. So how could I like even manifest something better, right? If I wasn't a priority, I didn't make myself a priority, yet I'm asking for somebody else to make me their priority, but I can't even make myself a priority. So it's like, it's also understanding that there's patterns that keep us like trapped in these cycles, right? But and the most damaging thing we can do is blame the external, right? Start saying, no, well, he did this to me and she did that to me. And that's going to that's even going to entrap you even more into the cycle, because now you're not even in the picture. Like you're doing nothing. You have no part in your story at this point. Everybody else is doing to you, and you're not willing to take responsibility of anything, right? And but yeah, I just feel like it's important that we also take responsibility. Right?
One of the things that I was always accused of, not with just my friends and just people in general that knew me, they said that I had a type. That tú tienes un type. That's what it says. You know, there was a specific type of woman that you like physically, and I didn't believe that, but I realized it like it wasn't recent. It was like probably a couple of years ago, that subconsciously I did have a type, and I didn't realize it. So I was like, okay, well, I don't know how to break that. But then again, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm going to try with somebody that's not that type, because that's not fair to that person either. But it just happened to work out that way. And it's funny because it's probably the strongest relationship I ever had. Somebody that wasn't technically my type. And I think it's society, and then it's just people feeding you like, oh, you should go with that. That should be your thing, you know, this and this and that. And that's not fair. It sucks that we're doing that, but it is a thing, you know? Yeah. And I mean, you go on social media, and that's what's out there, you know, and it sucks. It sucks. Yeah.
It's the external again. It's the external, everything outside of what we are. And I think that's in itself, it's what you just mentioned right now. It's like that pattern that you realized, and it happened naturally. You didn't try and go out there and break anything, but then you're like, wait a minute, I'm trying to date someone different, you know, from what I was used to dating before. And this person just came to you. And I want to say like that, all of that has to do with growth. Like at some point in your life, in your new chapters, you've I feel like you've been more where you're more aware of yourself, 'cause, you know, since I've known you, so you're more aware of what Greg wants, and I guess it can be like maturing, but then at the same time, like being more self-aware, which is what we always are mentioning for people that should be doing that within themselves. You don't need to be 40, you don't need to be 30 to be self-aware. You can be doing it at any age, right? And so exactly what Stevie said. If you were not aware and you're trying to attract things on an external point, you were only going to get that. You weren't going to get anything real, right? So when you start working on yourself, even if you're not really realizing it, but you're becoming more aware of yourself, that's what you start attracting. You start attracting more authenticity, more authentic connections, right? Than just that exterior BS that we think that we want because society says that we want, and that's what everyone's trying to achieve.
Yeah, right. And it's funny because it just doesn't happen to men. Same thing with women, like in their past, they attracted a specific type of man, or they were into a specific type of man. And then it's funny because Dee had mentioned something to me, mentioned something to us when we're off the air, and it reminded of one of the girls that I was in a relationship with. She had reached out. This was like 5 years right after our relationship, and she told me something. She's like, see, if we would have stayed together or whatever, we would have had like 2 kids already or whatever the hell it was. And I'm thinking in my head, well, I'm cool. I'm fine. It's okay if we didn't procreate.
Yeah.
It didn't work out for whatever reason. Then, the obvious reasons were we weren't supposed to be together, So I don't know why they say that, but that's not a good thing. You know what I mean? Like the reason why we're not together is because it's no, thank you.
I feel like everybody that comes into your life shows you something.
Yeah.
Right? Every single person that's been in your life, that came into your life and went, they all showed you something. There's a lesson learned behind it. If you don't see what the lesson was and you cannot be at peace with it, then you're still going to be chasing that. Yeah. That memory. Yeah. Right? So I think it happened with me. I know it happened with me as well for a long time. I even mentioned it before to you guys. I think I mentioned it to you, and that I for a really long time I said I want to write a book, and I want to write a book about the guys that have been in my life, right? Okay. The men that have been in my life, and the pain that I went through with them. How I was always chasing, and I now, in hindsight, now I'm looking back and saying I was still very much in like my victim mentality. I was still very much not understanding what lesson they had given me. Yeah. I still wanted to place the blame on these men for the pain that they've caused me, that I still had not healed myself. Right. I still wish that I could have at the time, I still wanted these men to be in my face in front of me and apologize to me. I still wanted a closure. So right now I understand what I wanted, right? Yeah. But I really wanted to write this book, and I just wanted to put all these things that happened to me while I was dating. And I don't even know what I just wanted to put it out there, right? Yeah. Okay, right now and that idea came for many, many years. Okay, now I definitely don't want to write this book because I don't feel any of that anymore. Yeah. I don't feel that pain anymore. I don't want them in front of me to apologize. I don't want to keep reminding them. I just don't want to keep. There's just nothing. I don't feel nothing for it. I don't need to put it on a book. I don't need any, you know what I mean? I can talk about it freely and I don't feel a certain way. But I did. At one point, I did want to reach out to them and say, this is what we could have had. This is what we could have been. I was a great person. You missed out on this. I was the one. I could have given you a great life. I could, I did at one point want to do that. Yeah. And I feel like if you, and I wanted that closure from them, but that's that. So I feel it's similar to what you're talking about. If you can't get that closure, if you can't heal from whatever it is that they taught you, that is still going to keep appearing in your life. That need of wanting to not reconnect because you want to reconnect, but just closure. Say sorry to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. You need to apologize, and I need to tell you how much you fucked up by not keeping me in your life. Yeah. I need to tell you how much you missed out on by not choosing me instead. Yeah. So I don't feel that anymore. I have zero need to do any of that,
And that's big, right? I feel like closure for a lot of people is big. A lot of people get stuck on closure, right? I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to experience, but what I'm saying is getting stuck there is, right? I seen this post on Instagram not that long ago of this lady that's talking about that. Like, they're having like a conversation about closure with people that have hurt her, right? Mm-hmm. And the person says, you don't need the other person to remind you how much they've hurt you. You don't need them to tell you in your face, I hurt you. You know that.
Yeah. You know that.
You lived it yourself. Why would you need the person that hurt you the most, that cut you open, to tell you, I cut you open? You know it. Yeah. You already know it. And whatever reasons they give you after the fact, they're not even going to be what you want to hear. And your mind's telling you a story that's not real. They're not going to tell you what you want to hear. And if they do tell you what you want to hear, they know how to manipulate you. Yeah. That's why they're telling you what you want to hear. So it's like, we don't need people to remind us that they've hurt us. Exactly. We know it.
We know it.
We don't need that from them. And when we are free from that, like you said, I don't feel that anymore. It's because you freed yourself from that pattern of needing closure, of needing people to tell you, I hurt you. Like, I'm sorry, or I'm not sorry, whatever. Like, I don't care if you're sorry or if you're not. I know what I went through. I know what I learned through being with you. And that's enough for me, right? I don't need any more pieces of information from you. I lived it.
Exactly. It's exactly like that one. I don't know if you guys ever saw it I saw it on Instagram too, where it says like, wanting to get closure from someone who hurt you is like chasing a snake that bit you. You know, it's like a snake bites you, and you want to chase it and tell it, hey, you bit me.
Why?
Like, you bit me. It's a venomous snake. It bit you. Why are you really going to go off and chase it and tell it like, you bit me? Or are you going to go and heal yourself and try and go get help because you got bit and there's venom running through your veins. So as you're dying and hurt and injured, you're really going to go chase a snake and be like, hey, bro, you bit me. Like,
why?
Why did you do that?
And you know what your answer is to that? If you're someone that's asking yourself, why? Why did the snake bite me? Because it's a snake. Because it carries poison. That's why. And I don't mean that the person's a snake or that it's poison. But in that moment, the person's living in that place. You don't need the snake to tell you, I'm a snake. I have poison. You know it does. Because it bit you. You know what I mean? And it's like, instead of focusing on the why did the snake bite me, is focus on healing from the bite, right? From the venom, from the poison that you got inflicted with, and just letting go of the snake. The snake's a snake. The snake's not going to change just because you say, I don't want you to be a snake. I want you to be a butterfly. Like, it's not. You know what I mean? It's like the focus that we have in the stories that we tell ourselves are just sometimes so unreal. Like, they're illusions in our mind, right? And sometimes we want to make lives with these snakes.
I know.
Like, that's just like, you know, and in our mind, we're like, why not? You know, and later down the road, we understand because you weren't meant to be with the snake.
Right.
You know, so it's like, I'm not saying man or woman are snakes. I'm just using it as an example.
It's just a metaphor. It's just, I think it's beautiful for people that are looking for that closure. When you know, or when they say, when someone from your past comes knocking, don't open the door. They have nothing good to say. That in itself is beautiful. That's perfect. There's no need to relive. Like, you don't need to reach out to me. There's no need for me to reach out to you. It is what it is. Like I said, once you've learned the lesson, it's going to be so much easier for you to be like, oh, okay, I don't even need to turn around ever again. I'm good. You know? So
here's a question. Obviously, we've all been in past relationships. We've done, not necessarily done, but we've had bad experiences, great experiences, et cetera, et cetera. Do you have any regrets in past relationships? Do you regret anything, like anything or anyone? Can you like sit there and say, I regret being in a relationship with this person?
I don't.
That's okay. Stevie?
No. I don't regret
That's
any
great.
of them.
That's great.
No. It was there was a time, if you were to have asked me years ago, I would have said, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I regret so many. I regret giving my time, you know, even my body to some of these people. Yes. I just regret it so much, you know, and I wish I could run them over or whatever. But now I'm just like, no, I don't regret any of them, like none of them.
Absolutely not. No. Then that's a great, I think that's growth. Now, I'm going to use you as an example with this. So I remember you told us, I think it was in an episode, I don't remember which one it was specifically, but when you were in these past relationships, you were trying to seek a family that you didn't have at home. So I'd like to think that you gave me the opportunity, like you gave yourself to me as far as like being my wife, is because I gave you that family. My family opened up to you. They still love you to this day. And the funny thing is, and here's the irony, your husband doesn't have a lot of family. And that's the guy you're going to spend the rest of your life with. So it's kind of like you did a full circle. And it's like, I don't need the family. I'll just build it myself, because between me and you have a bigger family than me. It's just me and our son. And you got you, your husband, and your 3 beautiful children. And you guys are all a unit. So it's just crazy that you just did a full circle. You know,
I never thought of that.
Yeah. So like,
but
you created the family that you wanted.
Yeah. I think I've, when it comes to my life where I'm at right now, I am the happiest I've ever been, ever. And because I feel so much at peace with myself. And yeah, I was for a very long time. Because I was a hurt child, and I felt like, and there's so many things that I've been able to heal from, right? But at the time being, obviously, I was feeling just always lost and always alone as I was growing up. I did, deal with physical abuse in one of my relationships. Very young age. I was a teenager in a very terrible abusive relationship. But prior to that, there was also, I had experienced sexual abuse. So there's so many things that as a child, I felt like I was trying to just run away from all of it. And so I was trying to create in my mind, I always had like this perfect picture of what I wanted my family to look like. So I feel like I was always chasing that, you know. I put my expectations on another person. Like, this person better give me what I want, or this person better give me. But it's so unfair to do that, you know. But along the way, it all worked out. Now I don't. I have my family now. I have exactly what I've imagined, what I pictured, and I'm still like in disbelief of the things that I have. But still, you know, to this day, I feel like that's one of the things that in relationships we do so much. We have an expectation of what our partner needs to be like, of what our life needs to be like, right? And we set these false like ideas and again, I guess, expectations of what they should be. And when they're not met, our partner's not meeting what I expect, it's like chaos, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy because talking about expectations, how crazy is that? I think one of the things that really kind of like irks me right now, I mean, maybe because it's Valentine's that are on this month, are the comments that I see of people like their expectations of what their partner should be doing for them for Valentine's. And then like having that like, well, I didn't get that. Well, that would have been nice. What, you know what I mean? And putting that weight on your partner, that kind of irks me. Like, it's pushed some sort of buttons, and I'm trying to figure out like why I'm so bothered by it.
Yeah.
Why the trigger?
Why is it triggering me so much? And I feel like I just want to tell people like, what do you? I guess I just want to tell people like your expectations of what you want. It's a lot of things. It's like, for me, it's like you're lacking self-love, you're lacking self-worth. You know, if your partner isn't giving that to you, give it to yourself. If your partner is not in the same state of mind that they're probably also like someone that's dealing with their own stuff, that they don't know how to do these things, or these type of things don't come natural to them. So there's so many things I want to dissect everybody now, you know, and I can't. But all these things, I'm like, oh my God, people, come on, you know.
Well, it's a big weight, right? It's actually one of the things that I'm working at a very deep level right now within my own self. And it's self-worth, right? It all comes down to self-worth when it comes to us attaching expectations with somebody else. Because at the end of the day, if I have attached my self-worth to what my husband or my boyfriend or my partner is going to do for me, then we're in trouble, right? Because now I'm saying, if he does this, I'm worthy. If he doesn't do it, I'm worthless. And that's the pain that we feel. We feel pain because we have attached a part of ourselves that is extremely sacred. Think about it. Your self-worth is source itself. It's God. It's a part of you that comes directly from God. That part cannot be defined by anything and anyone. And when we allow something to define something that cannot even be defined to begin with, that's where the pain comes from, right? It's not necessarily what the partner did or didn't do. Is that we have attached a very sacred part to something that's not real. How can my partner define my self-worth?
Yeah.
It's impossible. But yet my mind has said, he better define your self-worth, because if he doesn't validate your self-worth, then you ain't worthy, right? So when and this is something that I'm working at a very, very deep level at this time. And I was able to see like the patterns, right? Not only the patterns that I had in my marriage with my self-worth, everything else. Because if you do it in one area, you're doing it in multiple areas, right? If you're being defined by your marriage, then you're also being defined by your bank account, by your job, by everything else. So then that means that your self-worth has all these webs attached to things that are not real. And that's where we feel pain. The pain's actually a signal telling you you're in the wrong perception. You're not meant to be defined by anything or anyone, even a title. Even recently, I've been battling with the titles, right? Like, why do I have the title wife? Like the title, imagine the title wife or boyfriend or girlfriend, that in itself is limiting. If you're a wife, you're limited to a certain criteria of what a wife should do. If you're a girlfriend, you're in a different criteria, right? So it's like, why the title? Why is that needed when we can just choose each other every single day and be in a sacred union with no expectations, with no titles attached to anything, but just live the love that is there? How flowing, how freeing is that? To not have to, expect anything from anyone, and to understand that you're you and that you could give yourself all those things that you're seeking for in your partner, and that your partner is him, and that whatever extra he gives you, it's just abundance. It's extra because you've already gave it to yourself, right? And it's just, I don't know, I've been working with that at a very deeper level. And it's been, oh my God, I just felt so much weight begin to lift off, because I'm like, I don't need to carry these attachments anymore. Like, how unfair is it not only for my partner, but for myself, because I'm defining myself in such a small way, in such a limiting way. And that's what was hurting me, that I was attaching my self-worth to all these titles, to all these expectations. And it was just, and that's what I'm navigating right now. Like just going very deep, and then removing those things because they're not serving me. They're not in any way anymore, and it's so important that we see, the invitation is look at your own attachments. What do you have your self-worth attached to? Right. Absolutely. And the patterns that are there. Right.
No, and you're absolutely right. As far as the title goes, it is just a title, because I've had relationships where they compared what I had with my ex-wife to what I had with them. And they're like, well, she was your wife. But in all reality, there are some women that I dated, I mean, very few, but that I showed them more love than I did my wife, and she knows that. But I was a different person back then. So it's almost like they got the better version of me. So like them thinking like, oh, well, you wifey'd her up. So yeah, you love her more. And it's like, that's just one of the most ridiculous things I ever heard. It's funny because I'm reflecting on stuff that happened in my past, and I'm thinking about it now, and it's kind of messed up. But I remember me and Lourdes had we used to have a common friend where him and his wife were married, were together for years. I'm talking about from high school up to our adulthood. and they had a kid, and they were just together. They were together. And then they decided they want to get married. And then like less than a year, they got divorced. Yeah. They never saw each other again. And it's sad because the patterns were happening very slowly. And it became a burden for me and her. Because at the time when me and Liz were newlyweds, we decided we were going to get a place with them because we got a place big enough for 2 families. And as this is happening, this guy is bragging to me the shit that he's doing in another town. And it didn't click on me up until it started happening, but it's like, this guy's going to burden us with his family. And that's exactly what he did. And it's like, dude, a year ago, we were celebrating that you got married. That apparently doesn't mean anything. And that's exactly what happened. You remember that. And it's just a title. It's just a title. You would think, okay, now they're married. It's all happily ever after. And I'm not saying that's not a thing that doesn't happen. But yeah, at the end of the day, sometimes it is a title. And I think if you're going to be giving that title, it's got to have some meaning to it. It's got to have some understanding to it, you know? But at the end of the day, yeah, these are all titles. And like you say, you're questioning titles, but, you know.
It feels like, obviously, society has a huge grip on titles, right? Society is like, exactly what Greg said. Oh, if I'm not I'm not a wife. So, well, I'm not a wife, or am I the girlfriend, or am I not the girlfriend, or, you know, or, you know, vice versa, whatever. But it is so freeing to think like, yeah, remove the titles and just love each other. Like, just fucking love each other. You know, I think I was in that state of mind for a really long time where I was saying like, why am I not married? You know, why is Dando not proposing? We need to get married first. So for a long time, because I was attaching my self-worth to a ring. I was attaching my self-worth to being a fiance, to being married, to being the wife. Somewhere along the lines, I just kind of stopped, and I was like, well, if it happens, it happens. We're happy. We have a home. We have our kids. We have our dogs. Like, we're good. Like, what is it? Whether we have the title or not, we did end up getting married. I mean, it was beautiful. I think it just completely meant something else to us. I don't know if it was the titles or if it was just that timing of it, where we crossed so many bridges already, where we're in that state of mind where we're just like, I'm fighting you, but I'm not fighting you right now to walk away from you anymore. You know, because before it was like, we're gonna fight. Well, let's split. Let's sell the house. You know, or I'll stay in the house and you move out. Always with my plan B. You know, and for every fight, it would be like, well, let's split. Hurry up. Let's move on. Let's move out. You know, that was the solution always. And now we're in a place where it's like, yeah, we're arguing right now, but it's not to split. It's like to come to a consensus. Let's figure this shit out. It's going to get ugly, but no one's trying to run away anymore.
Yeah,
you know?
And that's so beautiful because, you know, that builds such a strong foundation for your relationship, right? Because at the end, you're not in a marriage. You're in a relationship with another human being, right? That's what's really happening under the title. So it's like when we can be conscious and say, hey, we're navigating, these things are coming up, but I love you. I still, like, that's like the conversation that I was having with my husband, right? Like, we're going through this, but you're my person. Like, I adore you. Like, I don't see myself doing life without you. It's just like, yeah, we're going to grow through this stuff. And how freeing is that to be able to just say, like, I'm not going to run away, you know? And he always has this saying where he talks about, like, okay, you could run away from the relationship, right? You can, and I'm not condoning abuse or any of that. That's not what I'm talking about. So you could run away from the problems, but the next relationship you are in, you will face the same things that you were running from in the other relationship. They might not look identical, but you will face certain things, right? So it's not about running away. I feel like it's about choosing someone that you're willing to evolve with.
Yeah, you're willing to fight for.
You're willing to just fight for, make a life with, and then just learn from each other. It's not about perfection. It's actually all about imperfection, because in your mistakes and in your imperfections, you grow the most, right? It's about learning to apologize when you weren't your best self. Yeah, and honoring and loving the person regardless, whether today they had a good day and they were their best selves, and yesterday or the day after they were in their worst self.
Yeah, right.
We all have those moments, right? And it's learning to love and have compassion for each other in those specific moments when we're not our best selves. It's impossible to be our best selves 24/7. It'll be exhausting, right?
Of course, absolutely. And a lot of people think marriage is just leveling up. It's just a title. It's just a title. Really I'm not going to love you more because I'm married to you. You know, because in all reality, like I said, Lourdes being my wife, I think I showed her more love when we were divorced. I've shown her more love, you know, more respect.
Yeah, I was going to say
more
that.
Respect.
I feel total, so much respect.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like marriage it's just a piece of paper. One of my best friends has been engaged to his girlfriend or fiance for like almost 10 years. They don't need to do that anymore. It's like, dude, why did you give her a ring in the first place? Doesn't matter. We're together. We live together. We have 3 kids together. You know, it's a beautiful thing. And it's just a title. And I'm going to give you an example of it being a title. My friend Joey just got injured and he is unemployed. And he doesn't have any health insurance. So I told him, dude, maybe we should just get married. Pull the Chuck and Larry.
Yeah.
You can get my benefits. Because that's what it is, bro. That's what it is. At the end of the day, it's just a label. Yeah. It's just a label.
Oh, yeah. Your girlfriend will not like that. She'll be like, what? Well, you telling me all it took was me to break, I needed to break an ankle?
That sounds familiar.
No, but I mean, I'm just like, there's that, you know, it's the person you want to fight for. If you can actually fight with someone and argue with someone about a discussion, whatever you guys are having, but if you can tell that person, you know what, I love you, I'm not trying to run away, I want to be with you forever. I know we're fighting right now, but I'm not trying to run away.
Yeah.
If those words can come out, I think you're with the right person, right?
Absolutely.
If you can't even say that, if your first option is run away, I want out, you need to look at yourself and figure out what is going on, or maybe that isn't your person. But other than talking about like our, you know, other half that is amazing, what about like the relationships of knowing when it's just not for you anymore, you know? Because I feel like there's so many people that are in the relationships that you're just like, I think you guys have run your course. Yeah. Like, why are you guys still there? Why are you still there? You know, I don't understand.
Yeah,
this is something I always tell my teenagers, right? When they are like, Mom, we're dating, you know, we're dating so-and-so. And I'm like, okay, I really like her, or I really like him. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I just want to teach you something in relationships. Just the way you got in and you knew how to get in, you need to know the way out too. If that needs to happen. People get too lost in the entrance, but they don't even see the exit. So just imagine going into a building and you don't know where the exit is at. Yeah. If you needed to exit, right? That's the illusion that we get entrapped in. It's just like we're in the box, but we don't see an exit, because when we went in, we truly believe that we would never need to exit, right? So it's like an illusion in a way. You built that trap yourself without an exit in your mind, although the exit has always been there, right? So it's like it's definitely a belief that's playing in their life. Yeah, that they can't get out, or that they feel like they must stay in those toxic patterns. A lot of it too is being addicted to the familiar place.
Yes.
You know, I'm addicted to toxicity. I'm addicted to the emotions, the ups and the lows. Emotions release chemicals, right? So if you're in a relationship that always has up and downs, like dramatic or drastic ups and drastic downs, right? Then imagine your body gets addicted to that release, the up, the really high, and then the really low. So it's like we chase it. We chase it because we're so used to that release in a way. So it's just being very mindful that there's also patterns. It's not even the person that you're crazy about. It's what's going on in the back end.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And I think awareness of that is important.
Absolutely. I remember, I was in a relationship 3 years longer than I needed to be. And the reason I didn't end it is because I couldn't picture her with someone else. Like my mind couldn't go there. And it wasn't a good relationship. That's why I said it was 3 years longer. That's a long time, 3 years, you know? And then when it finally ended, and the way it ended was horrible. It wasn't like a yelling contest or where we were degrading each other. I saw a post on Instagram, and it was somebody like putting a Twitter saying like, why do people how can somebody just like stop talking to each other and this and this and that? How can you stop showing love and this and this and that? You know, just stuff like that. So somebody responded and they said, I was in a relationship with the girl where I would say good morning every single morning. Every single morning it was good morning. How are you doing? And of course she would respond. And I thought to myself, you know what? Today's going to be the day that I don't say good morning, and we'll see where we go from there. So I tried that. I text her good morning every single morning. And then I said, you know what? Today is going to be the day I don't do it. To this day, I haven't heard from her. Ever again. I haven't heard from her. And that was it. That was the breakup. And then, well, obviously, she's obviously moved on, and the person that she's with now is like the total opposite of me. So it's one of those things where like, if I had ended it a long time ago, I would have seen that she was going to be with somebody way different from me. So this relationship didn't work. But just the fact that I stopped texting her good morning, she didn't, that's it. That was it. That was it. There was no, hey, we shouldn't be together, we broke up. No, that was it. I cannot make that story up. And I was like, and this is all because of Instagram. Somebody responded to that and they go, you know, I'm going to try that. If she loves me, she's going to respond good morning, or she's going to be the first one, or she's going to notice, hey, this motherfucker didn't, excuse my language. Yeah. He didn't
he didn't text me.
He didn't text me. And I did it. And I was like, oh. And you know what? Yeah. That right there, I was okay with. I did not lose any sleep over it.
Yeah.
I didn't need the closure like you guys said, but it's just sad that the last 3 years, for a long time, I was thinking, I don't know if I can't leave her. I can't see her with someone else. And then the day I was like, you know what? I'm not going to see. I want to see how she reacts. And she didn't. And I'm like, whatever then. And I was like, okay, cool. That was it. And it just sucks because, like I said, I wasted 3 years.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. But that's a true story. And then COVID happened.
But what do you think you learned from that?
See, that's another thing too. I was trying to figure out what I would have learned from that. Mm-hmm. All I know is, I always tell myself I lasted way too long, you know? And then it just turned into one of these things where like, she wasn't meeting me halfway, you know? I've always asked other people, I told people the story and I wanted to hear their perspective on the outside looking in. So I can get like, what am I missing? Mm-hmm. You know, I'm confused. Like, is there something to learn from it? I mean, in my mind, it's like, you just wasted 3 years of your life, dude. I mean, with the wrong person. So, I mean, and that's what it is. And because I didn't get, not that I need the closure, but just the fact that like, it just ended so easily for her and for me, I was like, okay with it.
But would you ever last that long?
Oh, no,
you're unsure of a relationship?
Oh, no, definitely not. Definitely not. No. So the learning experience is if we're not happy, let's talk about it. Let's discuss it like human beings, like adults. No assumptions, no stuff in the closet, nothing like that. If you're not happy, just tell me I'm not happy and this is why. And then I'm gonna be like, okay, well then maybe I need to work on this, or you know what, I'm not happy with this. Just communication. And if you can't get nothing out of it, and you guys are just not happy after the conversation's over, we're done. Mm-hmm. Plain and simple, we're done. And it's just crazy. I never got that. I never got that from this girl to this freaking day. Nothing. It just ended just like that.
Well, because there was nothing.
There was nothing, exactly.
What? Because she gave you, there was nothing there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's really sad because it was a simple good morning. Like, good morning. Hey, good morning. It literally takes you a millisecond to text somebody good morning. And I decided not to do it that day.
Is she alive?
She's very alive.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely, yes.
Like, just want to check that off, right?
Also, there's some women, also there could be another perspective.
Yes.
Women don't play games.
No.
So, like, there could also be that she was just in that space where I'm like, I'm not going to play a game.
Yeah.
If she was mindful enough, you know? There's so many different perspectives, but it's like people that have been through a lot, women, men that have been through a lot, they don't have energy to play games.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have energy to play games. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not something you could do anymore. You've been through so much that you cannot handle that anymore. And you'll walk away that easy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to play these games with you, you know? So it's like, there could be different different reasons why.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, and one of the things is, it's funny you say playing games. I question myself. I'm like, am I being childish? You know, I'm not going to respond until she responds. You know, that went through my head too, but I never heard from her again. And I'm like, okay, it's kind of messed up the way it happened, but like I would hope it would happen another way. But it could have been her pride. Like, I'm not going to message him until he messages me first. It's our prides, you know. So it's just a lot of bad variables, but it's just stuff that you can talk over. I mean, it didn't have to last 3 years to get to this. Yep. You know what I mean?
And you guys were already running on empty.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, it was done already.
Yeah, and one of another reason why we stayed together is because we were just comfortable with each other. You know, were we happy? Maybe we weren't. You know, it was just a comfort level.
That's what's wrong right now.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Everybody's just comfortable.
Yeah,
you know, with the just with the little bit that they're getting. Yeah. You know, they're just it's enough. I guess it's enough. You know. Because I guess I could say the same thing. Like I'm trying to go back to like the relationships where I just settled for the bare minimum, and that was enough. You know, I was just like, it's enough. Like, I'm just gonna drop everything the moment this person reaches out to me or texts me or calls me. I'm just but everybody's second place. You know, I'm just gonna put all my priorities, all my eggs like in this one basket. If this guy calls me or texts me and tells me right now, or I'll see you here, I'll see you there, like I'm dropping absolutely everything. And it's like I was putting like all my self-worth and whatever. And then if I didn't get a text message or a call, I'd be devastated. You know. But I was never a priority, and it's like, you know, just kind of settling for the bare minimum. Yeah. And especially when as a human being, you're just not, you haven't done the work for yourself, on yourself. You know, you just won't settle for that crap anymore. No. You know, there's just no, really, like, excuse me, like, no, I'm not your option. You know, I'm just not. Like, I'm not my option. I'm my priority, and so you're gonna meet me in the same level. So I think at this point, once you've already done that work on yourself, you're not going to attract some person that's going to treat you as an option. You're just not, you know?
You have to be in that position.
But if you haven't done that work, if you haven't figured out why you keep falling in the same cycles, you're going to keep bumping into these half-assed relationships that people that keep giving you, the people that are going to keep treating you as options. You're just an option, you know? And so... yeah, that's really where it all comes from. Like all these, you know, these relationships that are just toxic, people that are just toxic, women that are just super jealous. You know, they're just jealous of everything. You can't even breathe a certain way because what are you breathing that way? Why did you look that way? What do you know? And men are too. Men are terrible when it comes to that. It's the same, you know. There's just so many things out there, and I just feel like, instead of, or expecting so much from your partner and not getting it, and then being upset because your partner's not giving it to you, then it has nothing to do with your partner, it has everything to do with you. So
right. Yeah. So a question, I was going to ask you a question. I'm sorry, Theo, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you were bringing up that that you throughout the courses of the years with your relationship, you're growing. So my question to you is are you changing the person that you are, or just the way of thinking? Like what kind of, is there any change there?
It's a good question. It's both.
It's both. Okay.
It's both. It's not just the mind part. The mind part, of course, because you have to reprogram the pattern. Okay. Right? And I have to embody it.
Okay. Wow.
So like me thinking positive affirmations, wishing, it's like wishful thinking,
right? If
I don't embody it, right? I'm not saying that I get it perfect every time, but my intention's always to embody. And when I see that I'm not embodied, because trust me, I see it, like I'll do something out of character, or I'll just not be myself, then that's my signal you haven't embodied certain thing. And when I see that, I do the work, and I'm like, okay, I need to go within and see. A lot of people think that, me and my husband have always gotten this feedback that we are a couple that people wish they were in. Okay, always. But people don't see the work that it takes to be that. there is a lot of embodiment that needs to take place, a lot of awareness, a lot of work every single day. A lot.
Yeah.
It's no joke. It isn't a joke to have a good man or to have a good partner next to you, because then you got to put your part too. It isn't a joke to have an aware, like a wife that's aware, because then he's got to also do his part, right?
Okay.
So it's like embodiment is key.
Okay.
That's how I know whether I'm at that place or not. Am I embodying it, or what am I embodying? What is my body doing? Right? Is it matching to what I'm saying or to what I'm thinking? You know what I mean?
No, you're absolutely.
But it's not a lot of like in what you're mentioning. Also, is she's her mindset is one thing, her intention is another thing, and then how she shows it, right?
Right.
Okay, so that the beauty of having a relationship where people can look at you and say, man, I want a relationship like yours, is probably, I would say 95% of it is that you can have this relationship and you can figure your guys' stuff out without pointing fingers at each other, without saying, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing that, you don't do that, you don't do this, you don't. It's not doing that. It's doing me. What am I doing wrong? What did I do? Why am I acting this way? Why did I say that? What do I need to still grow? Why do I need to like let me look at myself? That's the beauty of it, right? That you guys can, instead of saying like, well, you always do this. It's you. Fix you. No, it's fix me. I'm going to fix me.
Yeah.
Frankie does his part, TV does her part,
yeah.
right? So it's the mindset, the intention is there, and then they embody it, right?
Yeah. No, and it's funny because we all say it, and this took me a long time, but I would always say like, oh, then I'm just gonna go about it a different way. But I'm just my way of thinking is changing. I'm not doing everything, like you say, like physically changing everything. I'm just talking about it. Like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to be nice this time. Oh, you know what? I'm going to be a jerk. I'm going to be an asshole. But I'm just not changing everything. I'm just talking. I'm regurgitating. I'm just talking. Yeah. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe I'm not the problem because I'm thinking I'm doing fine. But I need to change. Embodiment. Yeah, exactly. And
so it's your mindset. You have to have the intention behind it. And then you have to do it.
Yeah, you can't just talk about it. You got to be about it as well.
And that's another thing too, is not beating yourself up in the days where you're not, when you're not embodying it, where you say, damn, I'm freaking terrible, right? Because like, yes, we're sitting here and we talk about all this growth and everything. Trust me, every time we sit here and we have these conversations, it's eye-opening for us, even what we're even saying, because our intention is there, our mindset is there, our intention is there. We're not doing these things every single day because we also have so much things that, like Stevie said, we have all these freaking patterns that have been playing in our head for me, 41 years already. And how do you change it from one year to another? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's not beating yourself up for it in days where you're like, shit, I'm saying all these things and look at me. I'm just, then feeling like terrible about it. No, it's realizing it, being aware that you went back and understanding, okay, what happened? What threw me back a step or two, But yes, Greg, it's being aware of it, and it's not only talking it, it's not only saying it.
Yeah, right.
It's doing the work, and that's the hardest freaking
That is the hardest part, yeah, and that's something that, as I'm 42 years old, it's still hard. I can talk about it all day. I can read it off of whatever it is, regurgitate it,
easy.
See a quote, repost it, but you gotta do the whole thing. You gotta do the whole.
And once you start doing it, you know what the beauty is? Once you start doing it, you start seeing how not only you change, but people around you are gonna start changing.
Yeah.
It just happens. You know what happens? You start shedding. You also start shedding relationships.
Yeah.
You also start shedding friendships. Not only now I'm not talking about like boyfriends, that too, right? Obviously that too, but friendships.
Yeah.
Just people that were in your circle. You start shedding these things.
Yeah.
Because because you need to see yourself as like a vibration, right? And once you start being so self-aware and acting upon these intentions that you're talking about, you start vibrating at a different level.
Yeah.
Not everyone's in that level. Not everyone's going to be at that level. So people are going to start falling off. As you start going up, people are going to start falling off because they can't hold on to you anymore.
Right. So
you're just different mentality. So the people that you want in your circle, the people that you want holding on to you are going to hold on to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So how would you go about starting this process? Manifesting? Is that as a way to do it? I mean,
you already did the first step.
Okay.
Which is you're asking about it. You're
Yes.
aware. That is the most important step somebody can take. The fact that you asked about it and the fact that you've seen yourself, that's huge shift for you in your life. After that is, okay, this is an exercise I would give you. I would say, okay, get a piece of paper and write your embodiment at this moment. How do I move? Yeah, I know what I talk. I know what I think. But how do I move? Okay, list that. Then list the embodiment that you wish to be. Okay. And then see where the work needs to be done. I tell you this because women, we read your embodiment unless you're unconscious. When I met my husband is a great man, right? But I had been wounded severely. I was in shadow. I had lived a lot of trauma. I mean, I didn't trust not one single man at that moment when I met him, right? So when he was telling me, I'm the one, I'm your one, right? I'm your future. I was like, I'm not just hearing you talk, right? My kids actually asked me that a month ago. They said, how did you know he was the one? Did you right away know? And I said, no. And they're like, no? And I was like, no. It took me, I studied how he moved. I didn't study what he said or what he thought. I started studying his movement. And there was a specific day, I remember it to this day. I always tell him that that's the day I fell in love with him. Because we'd been talking and dating and stuff, right? And he'd say all these beautiful things. And you know, he said the right things.
Yes.
Great. But my key was, because I had a daughter already, I need to study his movement. What is his body saying? Not his mouth, not his mind, but his body. And that's where I focused. So because I started paying attention to his movement, body-wise, is he safe or not? Based on his body movement. That's how I knew whether this man could be a safe man for me and my daughter.
Right.
Not because of what he told me. Because he would think to me, he would do all these beautiful things, right?
You're
Who's
like,
not gonna see it,
any other person that's not aware would have been like, I love day one.
And I wasn't a woman that's been through a lot, especially someone that's been through a lot, either a man or a woman. This goes for both. They're gonna study your body.
Okay.
How are you moving in life? Is your mouth and your mind matching your soul and your body?
Yeah.
And if the body's not matching what you say, that's a red flag. You're signaling that you're not safe.
Right.
That you're not to trust. Right? And that's how I made my choice with my partner. I had made it differently before, which was believing what they say in the mind.
Yeah.
But with him, it was like I studied his movement. How does he treat his mother? How does he move around females? That was my number one thing.
Okay.
I studied how he moved around females. Specifically his mother. Because if he was wounded from his mother, I was going to pay the price, right? So, and it wasn't even that I wasn't willing to be with him because of that. That wasn't even a thing. But what I'm saying is, does he love? Does he respect women?
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
Because I've already been through too much. I can't handle another relationship that just brings me super down. You know, I had just been through so much already. And I studied how he treated his mother. And that's how I made my decision. That's what I told my kids. They asked me, how did you know? And I said, when I seen how he treated his mother. It was a day he was kissing her and dancing with her and just telling her how much he loves her. And I was like, oh, if he moves like that with his mother, I'm safe. Right? So for me, it was that specific moment. And I always bring it up because it's the body movement. It's the embodiment for women. Like if you're asking yourself,
really,
yeah.
it's doing what your mouth is saying, you know?
Yeah.
So it's beautiful to be able to talk and to be able to have the, you know, the right words for everything and to have the right answer for everything. But are you really that person? You know, are you really what all the talk that you're really walking your talk? You know what I mean? That's really what it is. And women need that. And women need that security. At the end of the day, you guys need to be our protectors. You guys need to be our safe space, our security blanket. You guys need to be that for us. But when your mouth is saying something and your body, in other words, what you're actually doing is something else, it's like, you know, for someone who's aware and someone who wants that long-term, they're going to be like, wait a minute, no, this guy's all talk, you know?
He's a salesman. I get it.
Exactly. And so, and there's a lot of that. And it's because men are just, you know, there's a lot of men that want to be the person, but they have no idea how to be there. But they're great at talking, you know, but then once it comes down to, okay, let's walk the walk, they're just like, they're insecure. They're not really sure. They're afraid. Some men are still afraid to be the protector, to be the, you know, the safe space for a female because they didn't have that growing up. So they're still afraid. They still don't know how. Like, dang, if I step into this role, this is a huge freaking role. For a man, it is. You know, you have to be the freaking protector. You need to be the provider. You need to be and you know what I mean? You need to be the safe space for your female, for your kids, in your home, where, like, if your female's standing next to you, she needs to be like, ain't nothing gonna happen to me because I have this person right here, you know? And that's a huge responsibility for a man. And I understand that. So there's a lot of men that don't know how to get to that level because they're still afraid of themselves, because there's still work that they have to do with themselves. But if they're still afraid, then they need to be able to figure, like, they need to say that to themselves and say, you know what, this is what I'm dealing with. If you don't need to want to speak it to anybody or you don't want to say it to anyone, don't. But say it to yourself so you understand where you stand, right? Because you cannot be that person for a female who needs that. You can't just speak it. You need to be it. And you guys are not going to, it's not going to happen, you know? And the woman's going to understand that. They're going to see it. They're going to know it. It's just obvious, right? So then what happens to the woman? The woman has to be that. The woman has to come in, and then the woman's going to say, if the woman's not healed, if she's not aware of herself, what is she going to do? She's going to be like, I'll be the protector. I'll be the provider. I'll be our savior. So that's when roles start to conflict, right? When we're having these issues with women having that masculine energy. Why? Because the men are lacking that, right? And so those are things. Is, again, do what you say you're gonna do. So speak it, and then embody it. But yeah, I think that's amazing.
It's big, yeah, for sure. If anybody's listening, a man or a woman, and they're like, we've tried everything, counseling, everything, and nothing's working, but we know we want to be with each other, right? I would say you're missing embodiment.
Yeah.
If you just go there, embody it, things will definitely begin to shift. And it's not impossible. You could save something that is meaningful, right? Yeah. I feel like, I know divorces are on the rise and whatever, but I truly believe that if you're in love with someone that you know in your heart they're worth your fight, like, fight for it, you know? And I don't mean fight like in a toxic way, but I mean like
fighting together, not fight each other. Correct.
And discuss things and put everything on the table. If you're in pain, I have days where I'm in severe pain and I sit down with my partner and I'm like, I'm in severe pain.
Yeah.
Like, I'm struggling. Like, this is what's happening. This is how I'm feeling. So that he doesn't internalize, is it me?
It's me. Yeah.
It's me, the one that's you know? No, I'm going through this and I'm in a lot of pain. That just being able to communicate, being able to sit together and have conversations that are difficult. Being in a relationship isn't easy.
No.
And having a healthy relationship, whoever tells you that it's easy, it's not. No. It is not. It is a lot of work, but it is the most rewarding, beautiful thing. And just remembering that relationships are here to just bring the best out of us, they help us they help us to actually get to know ourselves at a deeper level if we allow the relationship to do what it was meant to do, right? Everything is possible with love. And if you're anchored in love in your relationship, that's all that matters. Everything else will play out. Everything is possible. If you have a partner that's not healed right now, don't focus on them, focus on you. Because if you focus on you, you will no longer need them to be anything, right? We don't condone, obviously, domestic and none of that stuff, bad stuff abuse, that goes on, no abuse. But what I'm saying is, if it's just internal work that needs to be done, start with you. Always.
Don't try and fix your partner.
Yeah, because you're not going to be able to do that. No, not in a positive way.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's been good. It's such a good conversation.
Good. Thanks, Greg, for joining us on this one.
No problem.
I'm hoping that, I know I'm taking a lot back with me, so.
Yeah, me too, for sure.
And hopefully we can have another one of these. I think relationships are always going to be a topic that we can discuss every now and then. There's always there's so many ways we can go into talk about relationships, and so definitely something that I think that we have to talk about again.
Yeah, and we invite our listeners, right? If you are struggling in a specific subject, let's say, and you want us to dissect that, just reach out. We'll open up the topic.
Yeah, we would love if you guys have anything that you guys are dealing with, going through. We do not have to say your name. We don't even have to nothing, but it'd be great for us to chat and talk about, and we can try and figure out, what and why and how we can probably, get to the root of it. So yeah, let us know.
Yeah, for sure. We as always, we thank you for staying till the end. Thank you, Greg. It was a great conversation. We hope that you guys take a thing or two. You know where to find us at Unlocking Our Code Podcast, and we will be back next week with a new one. Bye.
Bye.